All right. Well, first off, I do want to say thank you guys for allowing me to present today. This pandemic has, basically decimated our ground game. Electronic media is like the primary way we're getting information out. So having you guys invite me is especially beneficial because I know the league gets the word out. So whether it's 5 or 50 people on the line when I'm presenting to the league, I know the information's in good hands and you're going to be spreading the word for us. So I appreciate that.
Thank you. We do too.
So tonight we're going to be talking about voting in a time of pandemic, something that I'm quite sure most of us have never done and something that I hope most of us never have to do again. But I'm going to basically give you a snapshot of the election. We'll talk about some USPS, some of the issues going on there. We'll talk about in-person voting, and we'll talk about COVID safety. So let's get started. Oh, and I forgot this one only works with mouse for some reason. There we go. So November election and snapshot. So whether you realize it or not, we live in the largest, most diverse voting jurisdiction in the nation, Los Angeles County. It actually really bothers me that I don't see myself. I've gotten so used to seeing myself in the corner. We have 10 million residents in Los Angeles County. Of those, about 6.4 million are eligible, 18 years old, citizens eligible to register to vote. And of that 6.4, we've got about 5.5 million registered. So in LA County, we actually have a really good registration rate. That's about 85 to 88% there of the eligible population, which is awesome. The problem is, like with many states, many counties, when it comes time to vote, that 85% goes down to, in local elections, we're seeing, unfortunately, 13, 14% in small cities. So really disappointing, but, that's why we're here. This is a never-ending battle. Now, how many of you, just a nod of heads, did anyone hear at some point, oh, this is going to be an all vote by mail election? I see some smiles, so it may have been floated out there. I do want to let people know this is not an all vote by mail election. Every registered voter will receive a vote by mail ballot, but we will still have in-person voting opportunities where we could do so safely. And the biggest hurdle we're facing with that is size of locations. When you think about it, every voting booth, every ballot marking device is about 3 feet wide. And then we need an additional 6 feet for social distancing. So we're looking at 10 feet for every voter. Now we're putting them in a room with 50 devices. So we need huge, huge rooms. We're looking at minimum starting off at 2,500 square feet. So this has been a challenge to us. This is part of the reason we've even started to implement in areas where we just absolutely need a vote center. We're doing outdoor vote centers. So I'm bringing in giant circus style tents, heaters, air conditioning, bringing out the works. And we're going to have to set up in a parking lot, in some area where it's very hard to reach. As stated, in person, we will have 10 days of voting per the Voters' Choice Act. So voting will kick off October 24th. That's Saturday, October 24th, and it will continue right through November 3rd. And then we've expanded our vote by mail drop-off program. Those of you that have seen me present before, I say it all the time, LA County is not about taking options away. We're about adding options or making them more efficient. In the primary, we had 200 of these drop boxes across the county, and we've doubled that to 400 for the general. So this is what our drop boxes look like. We have 2 styles here. Both of them are super heavy. They're not going anywhere. They remind me of the book drops back in the day when we didn't want to get that nickel late fee at the library, so we'd run down there on our bikes and throw it in the book drop real quick. This is the same thing. What I do want to make you aware of, there is something that's relatively new with vote by mail, and that's the law regarding who can submit your vote by mail on your behalf, your vote by mail ballot. In the past, the law stated it had to be a relative or a member of your household. That has changed. Oh, excuse me. They changed the law last year, so now anybody could submit your vote by mail on your behalf, right? As long as you sign it and they sign it, anyone could submit it. And, at the heart of that law, I believe it's done for good reasons, right? Assisted living facility, people that don't have transportation, they could have a director of the facility take it down to the vote by mail box for them, something like that. However, on the flip side, we have seen in some states, I don't want to call any states out, North Carolina, but people did go door to door collecting these ballots, as was legal, but then they did something illegal, took them back to the office and tried to manipulate them, didn't turn them in, several things. In the end, the entire election had to be rerun, and a couple of federal felonies were handed out. So the reason I'm sharing this story is while the law says anybody could submit on your behalf, At the registrar's office, we do like to put the word out there, please only surrender that ballot to someone you absolutely know and trust, okay? Someone you absolutely know and trust. Now, talking about options, we have hundreds of drop boxes around the county beginning on October 5th. Another thing that's changed, how many people, just a smile or a nod of head, have heard that there's some potential issues and delays with USPS? It's kind of a story out there. Yeah, okay. So if you're alive and breathing, you've heard this story. Well, the Secretary of State has partnered with us to ensure that everybody's getting an opportunity to get their vote in, even with USPS delays. And I will preface this by saying, back in April, it was your Board of Supervisors that approached Dean in April, before the governor, before Secretary of State, anyone else had approached. Your Board of Supervisors said, hey, we have no idea how long this pandemic's going to go on. We need to make plans now for safe voting if it's still going on as we approach November. And they asked us, do we have the ability to send every single registered voter a vote by mail ballot? And we said, yes, we do. We were planning on doing that beginning in 2024 per law, but yeah, let's do it now. You know, necessity demands. So thanks to our board, we were really proactive in getting out in front of this. Also, since we did that back in April, we started our weekly conversations with USPS headquarters back in April. So we've been working with them for several months now. And in fact, when the Secretary of State found out what we were doing, they immediately made the recommendation via CCROV to the entire state, to all registrars, hey, you need to be setting weekly meetings with your local USPS per LA County. So as is typically the case, you know, LA County setting the model for the rest of the state. And as we should, right? We are the largest. So in those conversations with USPS, this makes a lot of people happy. They have committed to make it their goal to deliver all election material within 5 to 7 days. So while we're used to getting mail within 3 days, you know, there is a little bit of delay, 5 to 7, it doubles. But again, that's a pretty solid commitment from them, and they have not wavered from that. They're stating if it's coming from us to the voter or from the voter back to us, 5 to 7 days. Now, on top of that, this is where the Secretary of State stepped in. He extended the deadline by which we could accept a ballot. Okay, in the past, the rule was what we call the E+3 rule, meaning as long as it's postmarked on election day, we could accept it up to 3 days later. So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Friday is the last pickup we do from the post office. For this election, Secretary of State has jumped in and we now have an E+17 rule. So if we put that together with USPS's commitment to a 5 to 7 days, even on the high end, they deliver 7 days late, we still have a 10-day buffer there that we could play with. So this is really good. You know, this is a piece that a lot of people don't see their counties doing. This is the piece that's not getting reported on the news, right? And we understand the news tries to make a general story, and when every single county has different laws and stuff, they kind of generalize over things. And the only bad part is our community in LA County, who's used to having a little extra something, we get caught up in the fold and our folks get misinformation basically. So we have 17 days. This is also the deadline for what we call curing a signature issue on your vote by mail ballot has also been extended. In the past, if we received a vote by mail ballot that was not signed, or if we determined, man, the signature is just not matching, and just so you're aware, the first round of signature check is by computer. If it says it's good, we have no problem with that because we have those tolerances set very tight. However, when you have the tolerances set very tight, you'll get some false negatives like my grandmother, rest in peace. By the time she was 88, her handshake was the exact same angle, everything, but it was a little shaky there, right? It got a little shaky and the computer would spit it out. The good news is LA County does not take a computer's word for anything. And the law says, hey, if the computer spits it out, you need to have a human check it. Well, in LA County, because we are the largest, we know that there's always a lot of eyes on us. So we don't just have a human check it. We always go above and beyond. We require that 3 humans check it, and all 3 have to say this signature does not match before we go to a curing process, okay? Now that curing process, we basically send the person a letter, say, hey, here's a signature letter, please sign here and return to us. In the past, you had 8 days to do that, so as soon as we saw one that needed curing, we would mail it out that day. Again, they've extended the deadline, and I believe it's actually 17 days for the curing process also. So again, delayed vote by mail getting in, no problem if it doesn't have a signature because the state has also extended the time in which we can get signatures from those folks.
Philip,
Yes,
may I
please,
ask
jump
you a
in.
question?
Please.
My hearing challenge. You call that a what in process? I'm hearing cure in, but I'm sure
Oh,
that,
a curing, C-U-R-I-N-G,
okay, that is what you're saying.
curing
All right,
process.
thank you. Okay,
It's the technical term they say for getting the person's signature on the ballot.
right, okay,
So
thank you.
yeah, that's it. So on this slide, we're looking at ballot tracks. Now, this is another partnership the state has made on behalf of the voter. And this is a company called Ballot Tracks. And basically what they offer is tracking your vote by mail ballot the same way you track a UPS or a package you order from Amazon. I believe you'll get up to 4 or 5 alerts. And it's a free service. You simply provide your name, your address, and it's not even your whole address. I think it's just your zip code and your house number. And what else? Birth dates, so they can identify you. An email address for getting email alerts, or a cell phone number for getting text alerts. And at that point, once you mail off your ballot, you'll get that alert saying, hey, your ballot has reached USPS headquarters. And then later on, another alert saying your ballot is en route to RRCC headquarters, so on and so forth. Also on lavote.net, we have a separate link that you could always click on that shows, you know, if you didn't subscribe to Ballot Tracks, you can click on that link on lavote.net, and that tells you, it's called Where's My Ballot, and it'll tell you if we received your ballot, which a lot of people currently take part in. That one's a very popular link on our website. So california.ballottracks.net. I'm going to sign up just to try it out. Now, I mentioned that we'll still have in-person voting opportunities where we can do so safely, and those will begin on October 24th. So beginning on October 24th, you can see on the left, we call them 10-day locations. It's 10 days leading up to Election Day, which would be a total of 11. We'll have 75 locations, and we actually may have a few more than that. I think last heard we may be approaching 80. So those will be 11-day locations, or 10 days plus Election Day. All of our vote centers, regardless if it's a 10-day location, 5-day location, they will be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m., with the exception of Election Day proper. Election Day proper is still our traditional 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Okay. Now, October 24th, we kick off. On October 30th, which is a Friday, 1 week later, or just under a week, 6 days later, we will bump that number of 75 locations to a target of 800 locations across the county. 800 locations. This far and away exceeds the state's recommendation. So, as always, when the state gives us a recommended number based on population, area, all that stuff, we use that as a base. That is always our bare minimum in LA County. We know we have 10 million people out there, 5.5 potential voters, 5.5 million potential voters. So yeah, our goal is to hit 800, and we're pushing that really close right now. So good effort by the team. And again, those will be open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. with the exception of Election Day, traditional 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And guys, we're on a very small group here, so keep it organic. You know, if you guys want to jump in with a question, please feel free. You know, it's not like we have 70 people online. There we go. Anne has a question.
Yes. So I prepared a little postcard to send to newly registered voters in Santa Monica. And we're in the process of, we got the names of the registered voters from your office.
Okay.
On a CD. So we're trying to figure out who has a computer that takes a CD, but we're getting there. But anyway, the postcard itself directs people to lavote.net for the drop box and voting center locations. I don't know when that information will be available, so I don't want to mail the postcards too soon.
Great question. Great question.
When?
Early October. Early October.
Okay, so around the same time that the ballots are coming in.
Yeah,
okay.
and again, it's only because we're trying to recruit so many locations.
Right.
And we're really having trouble. Again, that social distancing, a lot of locations we've used in the past are just not eligible anymore. They just are not eligible, which is why I'm looking at doing something like in the parking lot of the Rose Bowl and stuff like that. So that's the challenge. Yes, Catherine, jump in.
So that was a question. The vote centers, people are, I know that you're having trouble finding them. Have you had any word from your, I mean, I guess it's your office, that libraries may be able to open to receive, to be drop-off centers, like just one isolated location? Is that in any negotiations about?
So if there's a library in LA County, we've contacted them. Yeah, libraries are either some that have been empty, or not empty, but closed down in some areas, have offered us to be vote centers. Some libraries are concerned, say, oh, you could have people with germs in there, who's going to clean it afterwards? And we are offering, sanitizing solutions after, and everything while we're there, all equipment and stuff will be sanitized. But that has been an issue. But if there's an opportunity, like I said, I'm looking at doing vote centers in a parking lot. So, we're exploring every option, right? You would think schools would be an easy lift, right? Election code, the law says schools should offer themselves to us. Schools are fighting back based on COVID concerns, and they're all closed right now. But, so it's really a challenge. This is a very unique time. Now, those lists, so one second, let me add one thing about the list. Natalia, I'm sorry. While the list will be available in early October, it's not early enough to have any locations printed on your sample ballot as we typically do. So here's how we're remedying that, just as we did during the primary. Around the second week of October, every household will receive a booklet that lists every vote center in the county, And that's one booklet per household because it's several pages. In addition to that, every registered voter in that household will receive a postcard that lists 3 close locations to them, 2 to 3 close locations, gives them some options. So that's how we're remedying that. So one booklet for every household. And again, thanks to VSAT, Voting Solutions for All People, you can literally go to any vote center you like and still have access to your home ballot. Okay. Any other questions? Natalia, you had a question.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so I know I've seen that a lot of sports teams have been trying to get folks engaged in voting and to turn out for the election. So I was just wondering if you've partnered with maybe any sports teams to like have a vote center at Staples Center or maybe at the Kings practice arena or anything like that.
Sure. Yeah. Actually, 3-4 weeks ago already, the Dodgers put their press release out. We're having a vote center there. If that one doesn't work out, it is my head. This will probably be the last presentation you see me doing because Dean will put me in a basement somewhere if that doesn't work out. That one is mine, just like I said, Hollywood Bowl, Hollywood Forever Cemetery. Staples Center is definitely on board. When LeBron James is running nationwide talking about involvement, it would be embarrassing for Staples Center not to be on board. I believe the Clippers actually beat them to the punch with releasing the statement, though, that Staples was going to be a vote center. We also have Bank of California with LA Football Club. We have, is it Regency? I can't remember the name of it, but it's where LA Galaxy plays. So we have them also. Who else? Staples, Dodgers, LA Football Club, Galaxy. Oh, and my other one, how could I forget? I'm still waiting on a contract signed. SoFi Stadium, brand new SoFi Stadium.
In Inglewood.
So, in Inglewood, yes. And actually the Forum is one also. So that was one. They're both in the very near proximity. However, when organizations of that size approach us and are willing to be vote centers, I want to capitalize on that partnership and hope I could build something to where we could continue these in the future, because none of these locations, straight up, one of the locations I mentioned would not even give me parking lot space during a concert one time for a booth because their parking is $40 a spot and they make more money with parking than having us there. And I'm not going to say who that was. So this year, everybody's very willing to jump on board. So take advantage of that. We are definitely taking advantage of that. SoFi, you can look for their announcement. I talked to my contact there. They're hoping to announce early next week. It'll be a joint conference with Rams, Chargers, and SoFi. So yes, we're definitely taking advantage of that. We've also talked about maybe using some celebrity to try and promote a little bit, but we have a very fine line there, right? I mean, it's great that these groups are coming out, but at the same time, we're promoting vote by mail for safety. Don't come out. It's like, no, I want to go vote at Dodger Stadium now. So it's a little hypocritical, but you know what? Ultimately, if people come out and vote, that's what we care about, So we'll see what happens. Like some clubs have said, hey, we want to have our players there and such. And it's like, we don't know if we really want to promote it that much. So it's a fine line. But again, voter participation is what we're going for. And if ultimately we find that's what it takes, that's what we'll do. Yes, Catherine.
I feel that at these places, these well-known locations, you're going to have people not only dropping off their ballots, but wanting to take selfies that they voted at the Staples. I mean, they're going to look for something that says where they are. I just, I'm not trying to be pessimistic, but I just hope that that's not going to clog.
Yes, we've discussed that. So just like when we had our mock election, we had a giant step and repeat to try and make it something fun, except people aren't that excited about doing a step and repeat in front of LA Vote. We have talked to Staples, we have talked to Dodgers, and we said, we know people will turn out. Just as a fan, I want to go vote there. May never get a chance to vote at Dodger Stadium again. So there's a couple things we've done. We've talked to them saying like, hey, maybe if you set up a step and repeat, or you have those photo opportunities making it fun, Dodgers, maybe you do that away from the vote center so we know people are on their way out. And the way the Dodgers have it set up, it looks like we have a perfect place for it. So we're leaving that on them. Same thing with some of the other teams. You know, LA Football Club, we're talking about a portion in the parking lot where they may have like a fan zone where you can take pictures. Hey, I was here that day, whatever the case may be. So absolutely, yeah, we definitely don't want to clog up. And along those lines, I'm also working with our mobile vote center team, because places like Dodger Stadium, I have a feeling, may get really packed. So we may need to have a mobile team out there in the parking lot to supplement the actual vote center we have going on. Great thoughts, though. You're right on track. Let's talk about our ballot marking device. So did anybody vote at the polls during the primary? Nodding heads. Yeah. So the ballot marking devices actually functioned really well during the primary. We had some issues with the network connectivity on our poll pads, but again, we've been working with our provider since the primary, and we feel we have that worked out also. Key features of this, as stated earlier, you know, we can vote anywhere in the county, still have access to our home ballot. We still have a paper ballot. Just as a reminder, these devices are not networked in any way, shape, or form. Like I said, the sign-in process, that little tablet is networked, but that's so we know who in the county has already registered. We track that in real time. Your ballot, your vote, nobody knows. Those are not networked. Those are standalone devices. And then the other thing that's nice, because we do have that real-time connection, we can offer something that many counties cannot offer, and that's same-day voter registration, which folks call it same day. We call it conditional voter registration. So we're really pushing folks to get registered, check your registration address, do all your updates by October 19th, because that guarantees you will get a vote by mail ballot, right? Every registered voter will automatically get one regardless of vote by mail status. However, if someone misses the 19th, they were on vacation, they fell asleep, whatever, they could still wander into a vote center during the voting period, anyone in the county, and we will register them and let them cast a ballot on the spot. So that person who typically would have been disenfranchised by a random date now has a second opportunity to take part. Just so you're aware, on the back end, we treat that ballot like a provisional. We still have to check address. We have to verify signature against DMV, go through that whole process. But again, another opportunity, a second chance for folks. Now, another thing that came up with the ballot marking device. Yes, please, Ann. You're still muted, Ann. Go ahead and unmute yourself.
I just wanted to say something positive. Some people I know who are tech averse, who shall remain nameless, really had no problem at all with the machines. So that was great.
Thank you. Yes.
That was really good.
Throughout the lead into this, for the entire year of 2019, every time I would present, I would have gatekeepers in the audience talking about seniors don't like technology. And then at break, I would have seniors come up to me like, what are they talking about? I have an iPhone. I know how to use technology. I don't know why people don't understand technology. Our seniors that even are 80 now have been around technology since they were 70. You know, they have my grandmother, like I said, she was 85 and she wouldn't stop Skyping us from her tablet that we got her because we made it too simple. We put pictures of every grandkid on there. So if she touched a picture, it would Skype them. So I spent at least a month where I was constantly, oh, Grandma, I can't talk now. You can't be Skyping me during a meeting. So, but if you show people, you know, and it's simple and straightforward, they will use it. This is extremely simple and straightforward. So I appreciate that feedback, Ann. And that's similar. We had some outside reporting agencies survey people post-election, and that's the same thing we got. As far as the ballot marking device went, people were very satisfied with its performance. Now, that being said, we did have some folks that had raised concerns over the more button, over the fact that we could only show 5 candidates on a screen at a time. And I will be very upfront with you. Most of those concerns came from people running for office that were on the second page. You know, even some electeds that were already in office. I was like, oh, you don't have very much confidence as an incumbent if you're worried about being on the second page. But we designed this system in-house. This was built by and for the voters of Los Angeles County. So when we heard those after our mock election, we went back to the drawing board. We did not have to go to a company and start asking them to reprogram and pay more money. We got an entire floor of programmers and they went to work. And by primary election, you saw that that more button had increased in size. It was pulsating and it had a glowing color around the edge of it. I'm colorblind, so I think it was like green, maybe orangish, I'm not sure. But it was glowing and catching my attention. Post-election, there were still some complaints. And we said, okay, cool, let's see what else we could do. What we came up with is what you see on the left there. Now, as you hit a contest that has more, the first time you hit a contest that has more than 5 candidates and there's a more button, before you could start voting, there will be a black transparent overlay on the screen, just like you see that. Semi-transparent, you can see your candidates in the back, but it's telling you, hey, there's more candidates here. To see them, you must press more. And before you can start voting, you have to get okay to acknowledge that you got this message. Oh, didn't tell you I have to leave? Okay. So you have to hit the more button. Here you have to hit okay before you even start voting. So now there's no way people are gonna miss the more button. It's absolutely impossible to vote without acknowledging that it's there. Okay, we're getting there. Interactive sample ballot. This is another thing that we added during the primary. This is part of Voting Solutions for All People. And this is perfect timing because this is basically a semi-contactless way to vote in person. It saves trees. It saves paper, which also saves our taxpayers costs because paper is the #1 cost of every election. So what you do is you go to lavote.net, you sign up to receive your sample ballot via email. Once you get that sample ballot on your phone or your PC, you pre-mark your choices, just like you would your paper sample ballot, bubbling it in with a pen. However, once you're done, it'll print out a QR code for you. And you can keep that QR code resident on your phone screen, take a screenshot of it so you always have it, or print it out on paper. Once you get to the vote center, you simply scan that underneath the ballot marking device, and it'll populate your ballot according to your choices you made at home. Again, we're not voting over the internet. It's just recording your choices and bringing them to the ballot marking device. Once you're happy, it'll populate, and you can even have a change. Hey, you know what? I picked Phil Verbera as the best presenter in the county. I'm going to change that to Catherine. She's the best presenter in the county. And you make your last minute changes, hit print, and there's your paper ballot. So with minimal touch, and possibly if you're happy with your choices, no touch other than grabbing your ballot and submitting it right back in. Catherine.
So after the March primary, I have to say among my paranoid friends, the QR code was the only, I shouldn't say the only, was a major concern that it could be hacked. I was a poll worker at a Flex Vote Center, so I went through an 8-hour training and I kept trying to see where that QR code, and then as a poll worker, how could that QR code get hacked? So in your postmortem, was that something that was brought up by anyone that was?
So the term hacking, a QR code is what it is. It's basically telling the computer, go to this address, or here's some basic information. It's just information you're feeding into the computer. So while you can't hack a QR code, there was concern by folks that, hey, what if I put a QR code that it reads and sends us to a malicious website, right? That happens. You click on a link, you go to a website that's bad, and it's already downloading stuff. Well, that can't happen here because these devices are not connected to the internet. So if you take a QR code, in fact, if you take one from a restaurant, you know, a lot of restaurants now have the QR code menu, you just scan it and your menu pops up. I could take that and scan that and it'll just beep and say, does not recognize. The only QR code it'll recognize is one created from our vote by mail electronic process. Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
I think my understanding of it, because I used it and it was great. I was in and out like that. It's just the same as if you had a piece of paper where
Exactly.
you wrote down your sample ballot and took it in.
Yes.
I mean, it's all that is.
Yeah,
So
that's
it's just
all it is.
Yeah, so
A modern version of your sample ballot book.
exactly.
I know there were some folks that said, well, what if someone, you know, fills it out and then passes that QR code around? Well, it's the same thing like Ann said. If you fill out your sample, my dad used to do that. Here's who we're voting for, kids. Yeah, all right, thanks, Dad. And then we go in there. I'm not voting for that. Are you voting for what Dad picked? No. You know? But yeah, it's the same thing. You can pass around a sample ballot book. Ultimately, once you're in the booth, it's each voter's choice to, you know, choose how they want to vote. And if someone handed you a QR code and you scan it and you're cool with that, you know, that's on you. But yeah, I agree. But safety, Catherine, no way we could hack this. No way you could feed malicious info into that. It will only read these QR codes. In fact, I don't know if I've ever mentioned, we took this device to a hacking convention. It's called DEF CON. They hold it in Las Vegas, and they had a special little section a couple of years ago for election equipment, right? So we had, I won't say the company names, but all the major players were there, including us. And the question we got was from the hackers was, okay, how do we connect to it? Because there are no exposed ports on this device. There's no USB port. The only exposed port is for your earphones in case you're blind and you need verbal instruction or language instruction. And we said, yeah, that's the point. They said, okay, well, we'll just backdoor through a network. And we said, all right, show us what you could do. Hey, we can't find any network. They're not networked. This is literally just a ballot marking device. So we came out with flying colors based on that. You know, sometimes it's the simplest solutions that work the best. So, and here we were able to come up with the simplest solution that works best for 10 million residents, 10 million varied residents of Los Angeles County. So, but I love the feedback. I was very impressed with it too. I like trying. I just want to try it out so I could say I did it. This next slide here, the voter information guidance related to COVID. Unfortunately, it's something we're all very familiar with right now. Social distancing, wearing a mask. Everyone will be required to wear masks at the vote centers. If they do not, we have a mask we could provide for them. Our employees will be wearing gloves. We will have gloves for voters also if they choose. And I think many of our employees are choosing to wear the face shields also just for ultimate safety. And again, when you think about it, it's not their safety. We're promoting the shields as safety to our voters. Any questions about any of that? Great, let's get into our timeline because I know everybody's getting hungry for dinner.
I do have one question.
Sure.
Excuse me. So what happens if someone refuses to wear the mask?
I knew that was going to come up. So we're looking at having them do like the same as you would for an ADA person, a disabled person, curbside voting. They refuse to wear the mask. You're not coming inside. We're going to have curbside voting for you. Now, what does curbside voting entail? Well, if you guys are plugged in, so you know there was a portion of the population that said, we're not voting on touchscreen, we're not voting on touchscreen. Ask them, they have to give you a paper ballot. Well, the paper ballot we give you, it's basically a ballot template, and you literally have to write in each contest and candidate name. It's a long write-in ballot. So presidential election, you know how many contests? So that person that does not want to wear a mask will have to sit at the curb until we get a representative. I'm not saying this in a negative way. We're still going to provide them with services. But when I have 30 people in line voting, you know, that has to take priority. And when next available, we'll take them out their ballot. They'll have to sit there. They'll have to fill out all the information. So basically copying it off their sample ballot, I guess, filling it all in, and then they provide it back to us and we take it in. Once we're inside, we have to actually punch that information in and insert it like an actual voted ballot. So yes, we'll accommodate them, but it's not going to be like, hey, you get to bypass the line. Let's get them in and let's get them out right away. Not at all. So the goal is to keep them out of the vote center, basically. I mean, it's a state mandate now. There's really no reason that they shouldn't. I also checked the other day too. As you're aware, all voting for post-election ballot processing is observable by the public. So anybody coming to observe is absolutely mandated. They will not be allowed to observe if they do not have. We will direct them to go watch it on the live stream if that's the case. So just so you guys are aware. Okay, so let's wrap this up. September 24th, that's when we begin mailing sample ballot books. For most of the public, that's when official election kicks off. For those of us that know elections, we know it kicked off as soon as the March primary ended. October 5th is when our vote by mail ballots begin mailing out. Now, keep in mind, post office will have a fit if I dump 5.5 million ballots off on their porch. So we roll those out, you know, a couple 100,000 in the morning, several 100,000 in the afternoon, and we continue to do that. I mentioned this so that way you don't panic. If your neighbors get their vote by mail ballot and you haven't gotten yours yet, don't panic. It's going to come over the course of several days, especially with potential USPS delays. Now, if 2 weeks have gone by and everybody, including members of your household, have gotten theirs and you still haven't, then definitely give Phil a call right away. We're going to remedy that situation for you. October 5th is also the first day that the vote by mail drop boxes will be open. So technically somebody could receive that ballot, you know, October 6th, first thing in the morning, fill it out and drop it in a drop box by the afternoon, and they got the entire rest of the month to sit back and watch the soap opera unfold. That would also, October 5th would also be the first day of early voting at our RCC headquarters. Unfortunately, due to COVID, public building is closed, or we are closed to the public, so we will not be able to have early voting at the headquarters. October 19th, that's the one that I really wanted to stress. All our registration efforts, we really want to try and wrap those up by the 19th, get people to update their registrations, whatever it takes, just to ensure that they get that vote by mail ballot and they have an opportunity to vote safely from the comfort of their home if they choose to do so. October 24th, as stated, is when our vote centers open up, and they are open from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then November 30th, Election Day, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. One thing I do want to mention before moving on, right now is a great time, if you don't already do it, to follow our social media. In the past, our social media has been a lot of, hey, look, here's Phil's outreach team at naturalization ceremony, registering new citizens. And here they are at this event, and they're at Taste of Soul. And it's awesome, and it feels good, and it lets the public know what we're doing and makes them aware of events and such. However, right now we've shifted gears on our social media, and it's all about just information and education. So right now, if you've been following us, you're seeing nothing but messages like, verify your registration status, go to lavote.net now, register here, messages like that. Be aware, key date, sample ballot books begin mailing this week, stuff like that. And I ask you to share, right? We get warm and fuzzy when we see that people like, oh, look, we got 20 likes on our picture. But you know what? The message doesn't move when people like her. When you reshare, then the message moves. And I tell our partner organizations, feel free to right click on our messages, download it, add your logo to it, paste your logo onto it, and then reshare it again. Now you're in partnership with the registrar. And absolutely with the league, I have no problem saying that. So please reshare. And there's our social media handles right there. They're pretty much at LA County RRCC. So Twitter at LA County RRCC, Facebook is the same. There's our website, lavote.net. That's where we want to go for verifying registration status, for registering new folks, checking for key election dates. That's where you're going to go to find your lists in early October when they come out. And if somebody makes a note on their calendar to follow back up with me in early October, then, I'll say, oh yeah, it came out. Here's the link, and sometimes I get that list a day or two before they put it out. So you send me a weekly email. Is it out yet? It's not bugging. You're helping me do my job. So it does not bug. And besides, I'll glance at the email and I'll throw it in the trash. No, I'm just kidding. So that concludes. I apologize. Straight up, when I do work with the league, I share a lot. I know you guys are serious about this. You're not having me speak because you want to just fulfill some commitment that you have to have X number of speakers per year or a training session. You guys really are involved and really do spread the word. So thank you.
I have one question, and then it looks like
Sure.
Ann does too.
Oh, just thank you.
Oh, virtual high five, Ann.
So how old does a person have to be to sign up to be a vote center, a poll worker, vote center worker?
We actually have high school students. So I
That's
believe it's 16, 17, basically legal working age. Yeah. And
Legal,
I could
okay,
find,
so 16.
Yeah, I believe it's 16 because we have a high school poll worker program where kids get credit and they get a little stipend for doing it.
Yeah, they get, a woman at church, her daughters want to be poll workers, and they graduated high school, so they're 17. I said they're eligible.
Oh yeah, yeah. And if they want to be poll workers, we have on our website, lavote.net, there's an application to be a poll worker. They could fill that out. Now, the other thing they could do, if they're interested in working like the full 11-day period, if they're interested in doing a little extra work, if they go to the LA County's Human Resources webpage, and I just Google LA County HR, they apply for a job called Election Assistant 1, Election Assistant 1. So if they apply for that, those folks will be the pool that they hire from to be the 11-day workers, 5-day workers, stuff like that. So definitely encourage folks. And that Election Assistant 1, I mean, it's not peanuts. I believe it's $19 an hour, so good deal. Another nice thing, as a poll worker, you're not having to get there at 6 in the morning to set up, right? When you arrive on the first day of voting, my team has already been in there the day before to set up all the equipment. So all you have to do is go in, turn stuff on, and at the end of the day, turn it off and leave. Yeah. Something to note, while a person who's not a citizen cannot register to vote, a legal permanent resident can also work at the polls.
Okay.
So yeah, so like Dolores Huerta, famously not a citizen, but she was doing outreach, door knocking and registering voters, completely legal. And if you have your LPR card, legal permanent resident card, you could be a poll worker.
Which is kind of hello.
Yeah, great way to participate if you're unable to vote.
Ann, didn't you have a question?
No, I was just saying thank you.
Oh, I thought you raised your hand.
No, I have to do this to make my thing work.
Oh,
I'm a little concerned though. Barbara hasn't blinked the entire time.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, I'm really good, huh?
That steely gaze.
Man, poker face.
I have my video blocked because we had gotten hacked a couple times and someone from somewhere had turned on our video and
Oh, wow.
yeah, and so I kind of didn't like that. So I blocked my phone and my computer.
Oh, you would not be surprised at how many people when I start and I see nothing but like blank squares and instantly people start peeling off a little tape. It's like, oh, there they are, there they are.
I can't even peel off the tape. I did too good at the job. So my question though is this, so on LAvote.net somewhere, is there information about if you're disabled or if you have special needs and you need assistance?
Yes, we do have information there, and our vote center employees are trained on that also. Yes, we do, what is it called? Sensitivity, I think it's sensitivity training and ADA compliance training. So yes, they do have training on that.
Yeah, because
go ahead, Barbara, I'm sorry.
I was going to say a friend of mine who has kids at one of our local elementary schools and teaches in LA, teaches special needs kids, quite a wide variety of needs. And so she's asked me to sit down with her on Friday and have a conversation about voting.
Oh, okay.
And so this is going to be a very particularly useful presentation because there were things in there that I was not familiar with. But also I'll go online and check out specifically the special needs area. Do you have a PowerPoint related to that as well?
You know what? Let me check with special services with my colleague there and see what information she has that I could provide.
Okay, that would be great because that way, and this one also, this what you presented tonight, because then I could share it with her and she can share that with her students as well.
Absolutely. This slide deck will definitely go out to Catherine when we're done here. So I'll have it sent out tomorrow morning.
Thank you.
And if we need, and I'll also reach out to my colleague to see if there's anything she could send also. And just so you're aware, I'm not sure if you are aware, but the state does offer like a sample ballot, voter information guides in Braille. They offer CDs where you could have it read to you. So they do have a couple of options. You just have to know where to get them and we could provide that for you.
Yeah, Secretary of State's office used to send those to me actually, and I haven't received one recently. I'll have to go look for that as well.
Yeah, I think because of cost, they scaled back on how many they were just automatically sending out year after year, and they started going more towards people actually requesting them.
Yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, Anne.
Just another kudo. Wilma, you know Wilma, who sends out the names and addresses of registered. She's great.
Yes,
She was
I love
so
Wilma.
helpful. And she called me. I sent in the form, and then she called me and made sure that we were on the same wavelength. And
She
man,
provides customer service you do not find at the county level very often.
she is awesome. So
Yes.
yay, Wilma.
I will definitely pass that along to her.
Yeah,
management
please
too.
do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, she's great.
In fact, I'm bringing that one to Dean. It's not often that we have people called out in presentations like that. So
Oh,
definitely
she's
gonna let
like-
him know.
Great.
So since I'm the host and my oven timer has been going off,
Excellent.
I am using this opportunity to say thank you so much, Philip. This is really, really helpful. And especially since you're going to email it. I have a feeling there's going to be a hole plugged in the newsletter next week.
Absolutely.
I
So
did this letter, so yes.
I'll send you the slide deck and I'll send you some new one-pagers that just came out today, some voter FAQs, which will be really helpful.
oh, good. Okay.
Yeah.
So thank you and have a good evening and see you all. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Barbara, see you tomorrow night. Okay.
You're welcome. Take care, ladies. Good night.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thanks.